Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily Bank Shot best bet in college hoops, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday's card in college basketball. Here we have St. Bonaventure and Florida Gulf Coast. This one's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. I think going into the season, there were a lot of question marks about this St. Bonaventure team, and it's been a program that's been very competitive in the A10, but just a really different roster that did not return a lot of production from last year's team. Pretty inexperienced team, especially when you look at the bench, but so far so good. I mean, 2-0 record, both straight up and against the spread. And I like their matchup here. I mean, one of the big advantages the Bonnies have in this game is on the glass. I mean, they've been a great rebounding team so far. Florida Gulf Coast has struggled both on the offensive and defensive glass. And, Florida Gulf Coast has played a tougher schedule. They played UNC Greensboro and TCU, a power school. But I still think that when you look at their, games so far offensively, really, it's just been one effort, scoring-wise. Keyshawn Kellman had a big day against TCU and also put in 15 points against Greensboro, but he's really been the only standout so far offensively. They're not getting to the free throw line. They're not getting those second-chance looks. They're struggling from the perimeter, shooting 27% from three. I just don't think the offense is strong enough in a game like this. St. Bonaventure's, very balanced team so far, 114th and 135th in adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. Maybe this season's not going to be as much of a rebuild as a lot of people expected from the Bonnies, but give me St. Bonaventure in this one on the road. Next up, we see North Texas and Minnesota. This one 8 p.m. Eastern on Big Ten Plus. Now, Minnesota, known for Dawson Garcia, one of the best players in the Big Ten right now. He's already off to a great start this season with a 67% field goal percentage and 27 points per game through those first two matchups. But North Texas is a very solid defensive program, and they're off to a great start themselves this season. This is a Mean Green team that ever since Graham McCasland / Ross Hodge took over as head coach, they've just been one of the better defensive teams in mid-major college basketball. Of course, McCasland left for the Texas Tech job, so his associate Hodge took over, and he's implemented the same system defensively. It's been successful, and I expect nothing different this year. You may say, Garcia is 6'11", 230. North Texas is a pretty small team. They're ranked 233rd in average height. How are they going to be able to defend him? But really, having smaller teams is not anything new for North Texas. They've been outside the top 100 in average height for the last 10 years or so. And the defense has still been very, very strong. I really don't worry about that. For me, it's can you minimize Dawson Garcia, not necessarily eliminate him. He's still going to be an impact player in this game, but as long as he doesn't go crazy for 35, 40 points, I think North Texas will be just fine. As we saw Minnesota play in a not so impressive performance against Nebraska Omaha in their last game, a 4-point win, 68-64. The defense was fine, but the offense was just a one-man show. Garcia put up 24 points, and that was about it. It wasn't a great shooting performance from Minnesota, 17% from three. They were 57% from the free throw line. They were decent on the offensive glass, but North Texas is very strong there. They had 12 turnovers, which is not great. I think North Texas can force 15-plus in this game. I got to go North Texas in this one. I like good defensive teams on the road. Next up, we see Hofstra and Seton Hall. This one, 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, Seton Hall has really struggled offensively to start the year, and they scored 57 points against St. Peter's on opening night, 56 against Fordham in that last game, which was a loss outright as a sizable favorite. Now it's a buzzer-beating loss as well. So a gut-wrenching loss at home and an upset loss, and your offense is ranked 200th right now in adjusted offensive efficiency, 307 in effective field goal percentage, 342nd in two-point field goal percentage, only 37% right now. And while Seton Hall's getting to the free throw line, they're not cashing in on those opportunities, just 60%. Now, it's a two-game sample. You never want to overreact, and I do expect Seton Hall to improve vastly offensively as the season goes along, and we'll probably get great prices and good value with the Pirates in conference play and even non-conference play. But this particular matchup does concern me because if your offense does not get going in a game like this, the game could be over before it even starts. And I know Seton Hall is a solid defensive team, but Hofstra scores against almost everybody. I mean, this is a program that plays at a pretty fast pace, not so fast so far this year, but still a fast-paced team that takes a ton of threes and they make them at a good rate. So far, they're hitting those threes at a great rate, and against, especially in their last game against Iona, 47% from three-point range. It's really tough to keep up in a game like that if you're the Pirates, if you're scoring less than 60 points in your first two matchups. And I also think Hofstra's improved this year defensively. They're not really known to be a great defensive team. They're forcing turnovers so far. Like I said, it's a two-game sample, so you don't want to overreact to the raw numbers. But we just know that Hofstra is a strong offensive program under Speedy Claxton, and it's a game where if Hofstra goes on a kill shot 10-0 run, the game could be over right then and there. I don't know if Seton Hall has the answers. I expect to see some improvements from Seton Hall offensively. Wouldn't be shocked to see them in the 70s offensively in this one. So maybe take a look at the over because this total is set pretty low. But in the end, I still think Hofstra is the play because they have the ability to run away with this one. Next up, we see Richmond and Charlotte. This one 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Now, this is a revenge game for the 49ers as they lost to Richmond last year, 64-56 on the road. But for me, I think a lot of the issues that we saw from Charlotte in that loss show up in this game as well. And we're starting to see that already in the beginning of this season as Charlotte, their last game against Utah State, 103-74, a blowout loss there. The defense just could not get much of anything going. And it wasn't like it was because Utah State went crazy from the perimeter and made 15 threes at a 50% rate. They shot a measly 7-22 from the perimeter, 32% from three. It was the fact they were scoring so many easy, sustainable buckets inside the paint at the rim, and Charlotte just didn't have any answers there. And that's a concern for me because Richmond, with Chris Mooney's offensive Princeton-style offense, yes, they're going to take their fair share of threes, but they're also going to get those easy buckets at the rim. And a guy like Delani Hunt is going to take advantage of that, in my opinion, all game long. We saw it from him in that last game against Marist. Now, it was an upset loss for Richmond, 79-72, but I do think Marist has quite improved this year. It's not a great loss, but I don't think it's as bad as that blowout loss that Charlotte took. And even still, in that game, Delani Hunt went 10-15 from two-point range, added 7 free throws, had 27 points. I could see him putting up similar numbers in this game, and then some of the supporting cast for the Spiders chipping in some, plenty of buckets at two-point range as well. I just think it's a bad matchup for Charlotte's defense right now. I know this team was a lot better at home last year, and like I said, it's a revenge game, but for me, matchup-wise, it's got to be an advantage Richmond for this one. Next up, we see Troy and Arkansas, this one 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. I mentioned I like backing good defensive teams on the road when we're getting a good amount of points, and that's the case in this game with Troy, as I think this is one of the better mid-major teams defensively this season. Last year, they were ranked 119th in adjusted defensive efficiency. So far, 71st this year. They're defending the perimeter really well, and I expect them to improve in terms of forcing turnovers, as last year that was their bread and butter defensively. And Arkansas, this is a very, very talented team. There's nobody denying that. But it's also a very new-look team in terms of players from all over the country and some nice recruits. So the D1 experience, not the highest. And definitely, in terms of returning production, basically nobody with the new coach in John Calipari. The thing with Troy offensively that's a little bit worrisome is the fact that they do turn the ball over quite a bit. And we saw in that last game against New Orleans, 21 turnovers. You definitely can't do that in this game if you expect to win or cover if you're Troy. But the reason why I'm not too worried about that is Calipari defenses have not been great at forcing turnovers. And we saw against Baylor. Baylor was able to take care of the basketball all game long. It was a wire-to-wire win. They only had 8 turnovers by the end of that game. And no Calipari team has been in the top 100 in turnover percentage defensively since they went to the national championship game against Wisconsin in 2014. So, about 10 years ago. Calipari teams have been decent defensively, but they're not so aggressive, and I think that's going to be fine for Troy. I like the fact that they play a fast-paced game, and I think that they could find a cover here and potentially an outright upset win. We saw them play in a couple of step-up games last year in non-conference play, and they were competitive. A couple of overtime games against Oregon State and Sam Houston. They kept the score respectable against Dayton on the road, who was really, really talented last year. I got to go with Troy in this one, plus the points, sprinkle on the money line as well. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and put those college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.